Good morning, Afton High School. How is everybody doing on this fine Thursday morning here? Hopefully everyone was able to get outside. It's supposed to be a little bit warmer today, so again, hopefully we can all enjoy some nice weather today after getting all of our work done. I know I have some work to do. So I want to go ahead and start off at the top of the hour, just kind of talk about. So I mentioned this yesterday. I sent an email yesterday. I posted a review yesterday. So hopefully you're already aware. You will have a test on Friday. I'm giving you the weekend because it's got some graphing and things like that. And I don't know, as they slowly try to trickle in, hopefully I will put the answers out. I won't return your tests even if I grade it over the weekend. I'm not going to return your scores until Monday. The only reason I'm not going to do that is, again, for test security, blah, 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 all that stuff. I know it still isn't perfect what I'm doing here, but it's at least something that I'm able to be like, hey, you know what, you guys who have been doing what you're supposed to be doing, you guys who have been paying attention, working hard to make sure that you're keeping up with all this stuff. I do want to say, hey, let's help that test grade there. Let's go ahead and improve your overall grade in this class. Again, it's not going to have a huge impact, but it will definitely have an impact either way. So what I wanted to do was I just wanted to go ahead and make sure that we knew what types of inequalities are going to be on that test next time. And I only have a couple problems. So again, if you have questions, I'll go ahead and at the end of this throw out some questions, stuff like that. It is 8 problems. That is how long your test is. Again, I didn't want to make it too long. I wanted to make it a fair amount. I thought 8 was a good number. That should, again, put you right around that 30 to 40-minute mark right in there. So, and that's what I always shoot for with the tests. So first type, we have linear lines, root word. I'm hoping that's not tough. Quadratics, those are parabolas. So again, I want to say I kept it basic. I didn't go too crazy with our parabolas there and everything else. Circles, it will already be in that nice general form for a circle, so that won't be too bad. We have our absolute value, and we have our square root. Remember, you have to find the vertex, find the endpoint when it comes to graphing those. So make sure, and then we need the XY chart to help us out here. Like I said, you can get by without an XY chart for the linear and the circles. You're probably going to need an XY chart for these guys here, for the quadratic, for the absolute value, and for the square root. And that's a nice thing, I would say, especially if you are not able to print off the test, if you don't have graph paper, that XY chart is going to go a long, long way. If all you did was give me a graph, and I'm looking at that going, that point doesn't look right, I can't help you. But if you have that XY chart, and I can go, that point doesn't look right. Oh, but they have the right point over here. Okay, I'm gonna just say it's a bad picture and give you your point. So again, XY charts are going to be crucial in all these problems. I mean, even if you have the graph, even if you have graph paper, I would still make an XY chart. And the last thing is systems of inequalities. So make sure that we recognize that, hey, I have the 2 graphs. I'm looking for the overlap. On that overlap, make sure it is clear. Make sure it is clear what is the overlap. And again, I'm just going to draw 2 random lines here. I mean, we had talked about this in a different capacity, but if I go ahead and I draw that line and I draw that line, and then I see, hey, I'm shading here and I'm shading here, and this is the overlap. 1, if you're like, oh, I don't know if I made that dark enough, literally you can draw 1 and say overlap. I mean, again, make sure the picture's still kind of there, but I'm perfectly fine with you doing that. The same with, remember, some of these lines are going to be dashed. Now, these don't have arrows on the end of them. They should, but some of your graphs are going to be dashed. If you realize after the fact, oh, crap, I forgot to make a dashed line, that's fine. Just go ahead. I don't need you to regraph it. Just go ahead and do that same thing. Just point at it and say, hey, dashed. And again, that's fine. I'm not here to try to make this 1,000 times harder, because there are a lot of little details in these problems, and everything else. The biggest thing is I need to make sure that I can see, hey, you get it. Awesome. And like I said, some of you guys I can tell have been on the ball. You've been watching these videos, whether they be live or the replay. You guys have been doing what I asked you to do, and you guys are working on the assignments, and that's fantastic. And I want to make sure that your grade stays where it is or it improves. That is the important thing. Some people's grades, I was like, they're falling fast on a roller coaster after it makes it to the top. So again, make sure to stay on those assignments. All right. So like I said, there's 2 problems. I just want to work on 2 problems today. Keep it pretty simple. Keep it pretty basic. Like I said, try to get you guys out of here at about the 15-minute mark, probably closer to 17, because maybe I talked a little bit longer than I should have on that. But make sure you guys have the time to work on your assignment and everything else. So right here, I couldn't remember yesterday if we did a problem. I don't think we did, but I just want to make sure that we touch base with it. So we have x plus 3 quantity squared over 9 minus y squared equals 1. So important, let's find the center. So remember x, y, negative 3, and then 0, because there is nothing being added to that y inside that y squared there. So we know our center is at negative 3, 0. Our a value, remember square root of that is 3. And then just one more time, we've seen it on other problems, but there is nothing. There is nothing for that y squared. So we need to put that over 1. Remember, we can do that for anything. Always put it over 1. So that means our b value would simply be 1. Like I said, couldn't remember if I did one of those problems yesterday or not. I'm sure someone out there's going to be like, you did do this. Oh, my God, skip forward. But it's live right now. You can't. So negative 3, 0 would be right there. And then with our 8, with x being first, we're going to go x ways. And then 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. We have those guys. Change colors. A value of 1, or B value, sorry, of 1. So up 1, down 1, down 1. It's the most exciting part of my stream. Watching Mr. Keith draw lines. You can't even see him draw the lines. But yeah, so before we actually make our graph, we got our points, we got our asymptotes. Then from there, again, we just kind of follow the lines, make a curve. My line went rogue on me. Make a line, draw the curve. Looks like that right there. It's a little messy right there. That's where I started to mess up, and I apologize. So as long as I can see the important things, as long as I can see the asymptotes, as long as I can see you tried to follow along the asymptotes, that's always going to be the biggest thing that I care about. I still need this marker. So let's go ahead and set it down on my pants. So yeah, let's go ahead. Let's identify all the good stuff. Center, we already said negative 3, 0. And then we had length of transverse axis, length of conjugate axis. I'm changing up my abbreviations there. Transverse axis, conjugate axis. As long as I can clearly tell. When I was grading some ellipses, just funny quick story. When I was grading some ellipses, someone was trying to abbreviate major axis MA, and then they started to write minor axis and realized it was the same abbreviation. So they're like MIA, and I thought it was funny. Again, I'm not singling out who it was, but I just thought it was funny. So again, as long as I can tell what you're identifying, that's fine. You can abbreviate it differently. So right here, with a b value of 3, so for the length of the transverse axis, multiply that by 2, and we get 6. For the length of the conjugate axis, again, it's 1, but we multiply it by 2, and we get 2 right there. And then for the slope of the asymptotes, and again, it is plus minus because there are 2 asymptotes. We have to remember that. We have 2 blue lines there. So there are 2 asymptotes there. And again, whether you count it from the graph, whether you think about it's B over A, so we're going to end up with 1/3, plus or minus 1/3. We still need the foci. Sorry. Foci. So we got that c squared equals 9 plus 1. So c equals the square root of 10. Hopefully we're getting pretty good at all that c business. Big thing I do want to remind everybody, it is subtraction. It is subtraction when it's the ellipse. It's plus when it's the hyperbola. So, and then right there, because we're moving x is first, we'll add it to the x. So we'll have -3 plus the square root of 10, comma 0, and -3 minus the square root of 10, comma 0. Okay. All right. And that's all our stuff for this guy. So again, one more problem I wanted to touch base with. And this is really the big one that I wanted to make sure that we touch base with here. And I realized I forgot to write the problem on the back of this board, but oh well. So we have y minus 2 quantity squared over 10 minus x plus 1 quantity squared over 6 equals 1. So you might already see what I want to talk about here, but let's start with identifying the center. Is at -1 comma 2. Did I trick you? Did I catch you? It's not tricking you. But remember, y, x. So this is my h. This is my k. So let's talk about the b value. What's my b value there? That's right. It's the square root of 10. My a value is the square root of 6. I'm going to need to approximate those. That can happen. That can easily happen in these problems. So that's always something you have to be mindful of. So the square root of 10 is approximately 3.1. Again, we can sit here and we can argue on, whoa, it should be 3.2. We know it's between 3 and 4. When I'm graphing it, that's what I'm ultimately going to need to see. Square root of 6, that is approximately 2.4. Again, we can sit here, we can argue. You can type as fast as you want. It should be this. But again, we're talking about graphing. That's why I'm approximating those, only for the sake of graphing. That's the only time I need to approximate, is just for the graphing. Everything else that we're going to do in terms of identifying is still going to use the square root of 10 and the square root of 6. So it doesn't really matter. All right. So -1, 2. Now I'm going to try to graph this a little bit fast, or not as fast, but so it is y minus x. So we'll go y ways first. 1, 2, 3, and then just go a little bit past. 1, 2, 3, and then go a little bit past. So I'm gonna. You can see it's not a perfect lattice point. It's not a nice perfect point for us. And then that 2.4. So again, that's my x value. So 1, 2, and then 0.4 would be about there. 1, 2. 0.4 would be about there. 1, 2. 0.4 is about there. 1, 2. 0.4. So we can see this is not going to be the prettiest of graphs because we don't have points. I mean, we have a point right there. But we don't have the prettiest of of lines here. So again, I'm just going to do my best to kind of approximate this right here. And then go ahead and just follow along those lines. And we end up right there. So minus 2 quantity squared over 10 minus x plus 1 quantity squared over 6 equals 1. Okay. So let's go ahead and let's identify some things real quick. Grab my red. Center, we already said, is -1, 2. And then for the length of the transverse axis, again, in this case, it's come our b value, which is square root of 10. So we'll have to do 2 square root of 10. And that's perfectly fine. It's perfectly fine to say 2 times square root of 10. For the length of that conjugate axis, again, square root of 6 is my a value, so I'm just going to have 2 times the square root of 6. For the slope of those asymptotes, it is plus minus. Now again, it's b over a. This is the one time where the formula can really help us out because we might not easily be able to count exactly what we did over here. So this is where realizing that, hey, I need that square root of 10 over the square root of 6. Now we can simplify that and say plus or minus the square root of 5 over the square root of 3. Now, rationalize, don't rationalize, that part I honestly could care less about. But if they're both our square roots like that right there, we should rationalize. We should do that. All right, now here's the nice thing for that foci. In finding that c value, c squared equals 10 plus 6. Hey, look, that's 16. So we know c is 4. That gets added and subtracted to the y value. So we'll have -1, 6 and -1, -2. It's 18. I said 17. I'm sorry. It's 18 minutes long. I apologize. I'm trying to put the cap on there. It was in between my fingers. It was very difficult. That was very, very hard. Oop. All right. So that is it for the lesson. Again, I'll open it up if there are questions, if there's anything you'd like to ask. I'm putting out some feelers. I might have to do some things differently. I don't know yet. I still want to make YouTube videos. But if I can find a way to present my screen on YouTube, that's the biggest thing. I don't want to use the problem is I'm worried about privacy with Google Meet. If I post the Google Meet on YouTube, it has names and all that. I don't want that. I don't want your guys' privacy invaded. So I don't care if my name's out there. I care about you guys. So again, test tomorrow, so there won't be a lesson. I'll still jump on. I'll still answer questions. If so, look at, like I said, if you yes, do the assignment. I don't want to say put off the assignment, but I mean, make sure today, look at your notes, go back and rewatch the videos. You're like, you know what, I was kind of dicey on those square root problems. Go watch those videos. That's why I make them. That's why I do this. So that way, if there's something you're like, you know what, I wasn't getting that, go watch it. And the nice thing is, you know what, there's dozens of teachers out there that have taught the same thing. Go ahead and do a quick YouTube search. If you're not getting it from me, Get it from somebody. That's the important thing. They're probably better looking than I am. So, I mean, I don't care. They're only better looking because they have hair and makeup, people. My hair person is my wife. She needs, and I need to ask her to cut this because this is getting a little unruly. I'm about to turn into an anime character. You can already see it right here. I know this sticks up. I know it does. I can see it. I see it in the video every day. It doesn't matter what I do. It's going to stick up. All right. So, then if it doesn't look like there are any questions, I will go ahead. I will bid you adieu. Until next time, stay safe out there, Afton.